When you go to a sleepover, there is only one rule that you must follow no matter what. Never fall asleep first. If you don't follow this rule, there's no guarantee what will happen to you. Because I almost died at a sleepover one time after falling asleep first, and I already know what you're thinking. Tyler, you're clearly lying. Because for that to have actually happened, it would mean you got invited somewhere, and we all know that wouldn't happen. Although it may be hard to believe, yes, I did have friends when I was younger. Liar! I mean, I don't now, but I used to. So anyways, how did I almost die at a sleepover? Well, when I was younger, I had a friend whose parents owned a cabin in the woods. Yeah, you could probably see where this is going already. But me and everyone else in our friend group would constantly beg him to have a sleepover at it. This was like our friend group's dream. Every day at school, we were begging him to let us use that house to sleep over at. But he would always say no because he was that type of person that never wanted anyone to go inside his house. Like up to that point, no one in our friend group had ever been inside his normal house yet, and he made sure to keep it that way. Like one time, he rolled his ankle really badly to the point where he couldn't walk, so I took him home. And when we got there, I was like, here, let me help you get inside your house. But he was so scared of any of his friends going inside that he literally just hopped from my car to the front door. What? So if he would go this far just to make sure none of us went inside his house, there was no chance he was ever gonna let us sleep over at his cabin in the woods, right? Well, that's what we all used to think too, until one random day, we're bugging him like usual, begging him to sleep over. But for some reason, on this day when we asked him, he said, yeah, let's do it. When he said that, our whole friend group collectively just thought that he was joking. So we're all kind of laughing about it, but he wasn't. So after a little bit, we were like, you serious? And he says, yeah, I'll ask my parents when it's a good weekend to go and then we can make it happen. So we're all celebrating because we thought this was gonna be the best night of our lives. But there was something off about it. Because when he was saying we could stay at the cabin, he was really giggly for some reason. And he was normally a pretty stoic dude, so for him to be acting like this was a little bit weird. But at the time, I didn't think anything of it because I was just super excited that we were gonna get to use his house. But knowing what I know now, I should have seen from the start that he didn't randomly just switch up and let us use his house for no reason. No. He was planning to do something big at the sleepover. So a couple weeks pass and eventually his parents tell us that we can use the cabin that upcoming weekend and everyone drops the plans they had. Oh, you have a wedding to go to? Drop it. You were going on a first date with the girl this weekend? Not anymore. Like we were all going to make it to this sleepover no matter what. I would have missed the birth of my firstborn child to go to this. Matter of fact, I would have missed my own birth to go to this. So we're hyped. The whole week of school flies by because all any of us could think about was getting to that cabin. And we had it all planned out. On Friday after school, we would all get picked up in one car and drive to the cabin. So that's what happened. It felt like that scene in the Hangover movie where they're driving to Vegas knowing that they're about to have the best weekend of their lives. But just like that movie, nothing went like we thought it would. Because none of us had ever been to that cabin before. We just heard about it and saw pictures that he posted. So we didn't know exactly what to expect. But as we're driving to it, the area around it started to get really weird. Like it was super isolated. There was a couple gas stations and one grocery store in the town it was in, and that was it. So this kind of sketched us out because of how few people were there. But at the same time, my friends were like, they loved how there was no one else in the area because it kind of made it spooky, but in like a fun way. That's how they felt, not me though. So I was freaking out, but everyone else in the group was acting like it was super cool. And I couldn't be the only one to act all scared, so I pretended to be excited as well. By the way, something I haven't mentioned yet is during this whole ride, my friend whose parents owned the house was acting strange again. Just as he was on the day he told us we could do the sleepover originally, he was giggling a bunch again and just had that look on his face like he was up to no good. And none of my other friends really seemed to notice, or at least they just didn't care, but I'm the type of person that overanalyzes everything. I just pay way more attention to random useless things than most people do. So I kept seeing how different my friend was acting and I was wondering why he was being like this. But then we got to the house and all my worries went away because it was awesome. 2-story house with a pool table, ping pong, movie room. And the best part was when you went into the backyard, the lake was only a few steps away. Being in a house that nice got me so motivated to become rich that I literally looked up how to get rich quick. But then the first result to pop up was get a job. And I was like, all right, I give up. Like that's just asking too much out of me. But anyways, we're all getting settled into the house, exploring the area, thinking about how legendary of a night this is gonna be. So we just start doing normal things that guys do during sleepovers. Playing video games, eating a bunch of food, contacting the dead, just the normal boys sleepover stuff. So it gets to about 1 a.m. and everyone is still wide awake because we all made a pact that we were gonna stay up the whole night because this was like a once in a lifetime sleepover. So we didn't want to just waste it by sleeping the whole time. But unfortunately, I knew I wasn't gonna be able to stay up the whole night because I've been to plenty of sleepovers in the past where I tried to pull an all-nighter and I just cannot do it. And it wasn't because I didn't try. Like my friends and I would go to extreme lengths just to try to get me to stay up. I remember one sleepover I went to, I drank 2 Red Bulls at 2 a.m. and my friends literally attached chip clips to my eyes to keep them open. What the heck? But by 2:30 a.m., I was already knocked out. One of my friends even splashed a bucket of ice cold water on my face when he saw me dozing off, and that woke me up for about 2 seconds. I didn't even bother drying off. Just fell back asleep while wet. So I kind of knew it was inevitable that I was going to be the first one to fall asleep this time too. But this terrified me because for anyone who has ever been to a boys' sleepover, you know that falling asleep first is playing a risky game. Because if you are that first one to fall asleep, let's just say there's no guarantees you're gonna wake up in the morning with all your limbs still attached to you. You fall asleep first, then all of a sudden, you wake up the next morning and your face is a little bit itchy. So you go look in the mirror and bam, both your ears are missing. Like there are no limits to what might happen when you fall asleep first at a boys' sleepover. And like I said, I can never stay up the whole night. So there have been numerous times where I was the first one to fall asleep and I suffer the consequences of it in the morning. But I knew this sleepover would be different because this was a sleepover we had all been dreaming about for years. So falling asleep first meant risking my life. But despite my best efforts to stay up, around 2:45 a.m., I fell asleep. But this is where it gets terrifying because the next thing I know, I wake up. I couldn't hear anything. I couldn't see anything. It was like I was just laying down in a void. So at first, I thought I was dreaming because I fell asleep on my back that night. And I've said before that I will never try to fall asleep on my back if I can control it for one reason. And it's because I get sleep paralysis when I do that. For those of you who aren't too familiar with what sleep paralysis is, it's a thing where you're kind of dreaming, but you're kind of not. So basically you think you're awake, but you have no control over your body. And I know what you guys are gonna say. Tyler, you didn't have sleep paralysis. You just fell asleep first, so your friends cut off all your limbs. Not a bad guess, to be honest, but no, that's not what happened. But I also knew it wasn't sleep paralysis either because of two things. Number one, I could feel and move my limbs, which has never happened during a sleep paralysis dream. And two, I would always have super vivid dreams when I was experiencing sleep paralysis. But in this scenario, none of that was happening. Matter of fact, it felt super peaceful. But then my mind started to wake up a little more and question what was going on. I was now awake enough to be like, wait, why am I in pitch blackness and why can I not hear anything? Because as I was waking up, I remembered everything that happened before I went to sleep. And I knew for a fact that I did not fall asleep in a black hole. I was in the living room. So I moved my head around a little bit trying to figure out exactly where I was at. I looked to my left, didn't see anything. Looked to my right, didn't see anything once again. Just complete and utter darkness. So now I started to panic because I don't know why, but the first thing my brain went to in this situation was a video that I remembered watching. And it was this girl saying that her worst fear is to be stuck in a world where there is just nothing. Like you're still fully conscious, but there's nothing around you and you're stuck there forever. I don't know why, but this was like the first thing I thought about when I started to wake up and my heart started pounding because this is terrifying. But then finally, I was awake enough to try standing up. But the moment I tried to, I realized the ground under me was not stable. The bed I was on started shaking really hard and I couldn't find my balance to stand up. So I put my hand down to see what surface the mattress was on, and that was when I felt something wet. My homies peed on me while I was sleeping. No, I'm just kidding. That's not why the ground was wet. I actually don't know why I said that. Although I really didn't want to touch this mystery liquid on the ground again, I knew I probably should to figure out where I'm at. So I did, and that was when I realized it was water. But it wasn't just water on the ground, no. Because when I touched it, I figured out that I was lying on a mattress floating on a body of water. Now I was starting to put some of the pieces together and I figured out that I was on a mattress on the lake outside of my friend's cabin. And I couldn't see anything because, like I said, the cabin was in the middle of nowhere, so there were no city lights or anything around it to make noise. So I just figured this was my friends playing a prank on me and punishing me for falling asleep first. So I scream out, "Hey, someone bring me back to shore!" But no response. So I'm thinking, that's odd. Maybe they just couldn't hear me. So I scream again, but still, no answer. So I just resorted to paddling back on my mattress to the shore, which was probably about a couple hundred feet away. Finally, after maybe 10 minutes of paddling, I got to shore and I walk up to the house and open the back door, but something was off because it was completely silent inside. I start slowly creeping around the house nervously trying to find any one of my friends. And I check 4 out of the 5 rooms, but I can't find any of them. But then I hear a noise that sounds like a bird whistling. Being the logical thinker I am, I figured it was just a serial killer trying to lure me into the room for me to meet my final demise. So what did I do? I followed the noise. And I figured out it was coming from a room that had a door shut. So I go to that room, and after taking a big deep breath, I open the door. And what was inside? All my friends sleeping. There was like 5 rooms, but they all decided to sleep in the same one. But wait, if they're all sleeping, then how did I get into the lake? Well, I turn a light on because I want to see if they have the answer to that question. And they all slowly wake up, and looking like I just got done trying to be the next Michael Phelps, I ask them if they know why I was in the lake. And they all just look at my friend who owned the house and start laughing. I ask why they're all laughing, and that's when they told me that they put me on a mattress and pushed it out into the lake after I fell asleep. So I responded by saying, "What the hell is wrong with you people?" So I asked why they all started looking at my friend who owned the house when they were laughing, and this is when they told me something that made everything make sense. Because remember when I said he was acting all bubbly and giggling even though he's never like that? Well, apparently, the reason he was acting like this is because he saw a movie where someone put their friend on a mattress and let them drift out into the lake, and he thought it was hilarious. So he wanted to recreate it with whoever fell asleep first at the sleepover.
Bro, I might just turn off my computer after hearing that, bro.
This is why you'll never catch me going to another sleepover again. And I'm also an adult now, so I don't get invited to them. But yeah.